Welcome to Resilience Talk, hosted by Paul Spencer of Second Nature Solutions. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Resilience Talk podcast. Today, we are talking about our faith series as it relates to togetherness. So, Paul, you work with families, you work with family businesses, and you know that togetherness is an extremely important component of being successful in living a life well lived. So I want to start with this question that I think would be really great for folks to consider in the background as you're listening to this episode, which is, what are you doing today that your great-great-grandchildren will thank you for? So with that, Paul, what is togetherness? What do you mean by that?
Well, togetherness is something that we feel when we are living our lives. So we have a sense of how isolated we are or how together we are. And let's just think about it from our family. And when we're together, that means that not that we agree on everything, but it means that we have an understanding about how to communicate with each other, how to make decisions together, how to have difficult conversations with each other, how to go places with each other, not physically places. I mean, it could be going on vacation and going and visiting things, but it's really moving the family forward. And who are we? And what are we about? What's our family purpose? What's our family thread? And when we think about our family thread, we have to look backwards. And like when Ancestry.com first came out, right? Mm-hmm. It was a really, really cool concept. And people, I think it's fun, actually. It's a lot of fun. And some families are stronger in knowing their family history, like with photos and stories and all that, than others. But when you're able to understand your family thread and who you come from, where you come from, even culturally, what's in your background, that forms who you are, right? We always tell the stories of where I grew up. Where did you grow up? Are you from, right? Are you from Texas? Did you grow up in Dallas? No, I grew up, right? I know where I grew up, and I'll tell the story of my family. And so that's togetherness. That whole thing is the big umbrella above who we are as a family. And hopefully we all strive to be together as a family and to go somewhere as a family. And that's difficult to do. It's really hard to do. And it takes a lot of discipline. Like the things that we've already been talking about does take a lot of discipline. And sometimes members of our family aren't too excited about the discipline of being together. And it doesn't have to be something stuffy. It doesn't mean you have to have family meetings, although those are helpful. But a family meeting doesn't have to mean like a professor lecture. It could be something fun. It could be a cookout, right? It could be a retreat. It could be a family gathering, right? A family reunion. And it could be something fun that fits, again, into your family story, your family thread, right? You may have families who love getting dressed up and going to the fancy restaurant, and they love the ballroom. And you may have families that like shorts and sandals and getting out the briquettes and grilling, right? Hot dogs and burgers. And that's good enough. Going fishing, right? We all have an understanding of what our family thread is and what it means for us to be together. One other thing to that too is, and I've gotten this because I've been talking about families and charters and togetherness for several years now. And when I say the things I just said, some people, even just by looking at me and their body language, I can tell that they vehemently disagree with what I'm saying about the importance of family and the joy you get from family. And if we're together and we can move forward with family, then that's good. And so I asked them about those things, and their family stories are not fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they maybe don't even have a family. I don't know my dad. I never knew him. And my mom really struggled with alcohol. And my siblings, we raised ourselves, right? Or maybe I didn't even know my parents. I was raised in a foster home. And I was raised in multiple foster homes, and I don't even know what it means to have a family. Other stories are more, I was abused as a child, or my family is a long line of alcoholics, and so I can't see where family is even remotely good. So it's not to say that those things don't exist and everything's Pollyanna, because those things do exist. And that's what we've talked about before, is faith and hope, right? And even looking back at our threads, our family story may not be pleasant to think about, might not be fun, it might be hurtful, but we all have an opportunity to go somewhere different if we want, right? We can change the path of our family. We can change the direction, the place it's going. And just going back to the question that you asked, we, right now in this moment in time, can change the history, the forward, looking back history of our grandkids' kids, right? And they may not really know who Paul was, right, or who Brandon was, or who Sarah was, but we were the ones who intentionally said, we're breaking that family history, and we're going to be wholesome. We're going to get a different human capital within our family, a different social capital, and a different spiritual capital, and we're going to go a different place. And there's a guarantee that all of our families, every single one of us, have that thread. Some of us may not know it because that history is too far back, right? But we've all had family members in our lineage who have made that decision and changed our family history. And we've also had people in our family lines who took something that maybe was on a good path and turned it to a different place. So again, like what we always say, creating some awareness, creating some understanding that we are here today in order to affect our children's children in our families that we will never meet. And those are the sacrifices, those are the things that we're up to today, is to set them on fire, right? Right? From a gospel perspective, right? Set them on fire, give them the light, and let those families be a big part of the world.
In therapy circles, if you're starting with a new therapist, or reading books, trying to do some deep soul work, one of the earliest questions is, what's your family of origin? That's the phrase, your family of origin. Where do you come from? Because that so deeply impacts who you are as a person today. Your parents and their struggles or successes, and even there's a lot of language around like generational sin, trying to break that curse and things like that. I get this sense that we're living in this kind of more modern time where family, especially like the nuclear family or the family unit, is de-emphasized at the expense of independence and freedom and movement, having a lot of like mobility and career, mobility and experiences, whatever that looks like. And in the midst of that, I think we're having a lot of division societally, culturally. Maybe there's some family members that are moving in the Trump administration direction, or others are moving in the progressive political direction, and there's like this tension. Do you sense that? Do you see that kind of arc as a kind of the history of families? Do you see that kind of like how families have changed over the past several decades, or like what's your comment on that, and how can we kind of place ourselves in history there? So
when we think about the fourth turning, and then the George Friedman book, which I always forget the name of that, but and just look about the patterns in the world. I would say that we're on the back end of that whole individualism and the splitting of the family.
Interesting.
And we're in this time where, again, like, of course, like what we've always been talking about is the age of turbulence, right?
Yeah.
The age of change, and things are always even today, right now, as we sit here, are just crazy.
Yeah.
Things are crazy.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. That's going to keep going for some time, like maybe a decade or less. But I would say that it feels to me, based on my observations and the people I talk to, that family is becoming more and more important. And faith is becoming more and more important. And there are more and more people talking about it and asking questions about it and setting real tangible personal and family goals around it, both in those categories, faith and family. So I feel like we're at a place where that is resetting, and we're having kind of a re-enlightenment era, I guess you might call it. And I would say that the Gen Z maybe might be leading some of that.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of that in the Fourth Turning. I forget exactly how he describes it, but he does talk about, in those turns, meaning in those generations, there is a spiritual awakening, so to speak. And it normally comes out of the crisis, which we're in that what he labels as a crisis.
Yeah.
So
I could see that. There was I think it was in The Guardian a few weeks ago that talked about how the church in the UK is getting this kind of revival, like church attendance is way up, especially on younger demographics. And I believe either Gallup or Barna released some similar data here in the UK among younger demographics, which is a complete opposite of what people were predicting just even a few years ago. And I think it is some of that sense that people are wanting to be more rooted. Even in my own generation, I'm a mid-30s, have 2 kids, and my friends and peers, colleagues are giving up career trajectories and moving and all that kind of stuff to stay more rooted, have more of a local community and create stronger bonds.
Yeah, so, I think that matches to what I'm observing. And then I would also say too, even for me, just the prediction of becoming more local, more localized, because of the technology that we have and the advancements that we're, like, you and I only know each other because of this thing that we're talking on here, right? Otherwise, we would never know each other.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have this way of communicating and meeting each other and connecting, and then having face-to-face conversations. Not only have we met, but we know each other, and we know what each other looks like, and how each other behaves. Just as if, obviously, it's not as awesome as being in person, but it's pretty high fidelity.
Yeah.
And so that technology is giving us an opportunity that we don't have to move. You don't have to move to Cincinnati to work for P&G anymore, right? And you don't have to move to Brussels to continue to work for P&G. Now, I don't know. Maybe they still do. But those things, the idea of even for the sales guy, right? If you think about even 10 years ago, 20 years ago for sure, if you were part of any kind of business and you were in the sales group, you almost 80, 90% of what you did was travel, like on the plane or in the car, because you had to go meet people to make sales. You couldn't do it right on the phone, right? Or through mail or email. And a lot of that is reducing, which then reduces our demand to get a job that we're seeking, or a new career advancement, or a new promotion, and I can still do it remotely.
Yeah, yeah.
Another thing cool that's happening too, and this kind of started with the whole organic food movement, and the farm to table concept and the farmers markets, which are really big. Are those? I mean, those are all over the place here. I would imagine they're same for you.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of industrial farming and even like the industrial chicken, right, beef, and all of those things, those are becoming more and more localized as well.
Yeah.
Because the technology is advancing for that to happen.
Yeah.
And for it to have a higher quality, for it to be a smaller footprint. And so it's possible for us to just live in a certain community and have all the things that we need, plus the things that are coming outside of our community.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, there is a new world that we're going to experience, and the timing of that, I don't know what the timing of that, but that's it's closer than not. Mm-hmm. And that gives us all an opportunity to build a community, to build a family, right? And then we don't get splintered apart because we never see each other, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm sensing that even in the business world, where folks are wanting, because of, let's say, like the fast food of business accelerated by AI, and there's all kinds of, social media tearing people apart and whatever. There's like so many conversations that go into that, but I'm feeling this, or I'm reading and seeing and seeing what's going on in the business world, where people are wanting to return to like a smaller, higher quality craftsman, artisanal kind of business, if you will. Even the kind of things that they produce. That's neither here nor there. That's a whole tangent you and I could talk about for hours about AI and return to office debates and all kinds of stuff. But let's say, okay, so somebody is seeing the importance of, let's say, creating this kind of family charter of sorts, thinking about the mission of the family, thinking about 200 years from now, what do I want my great-great-grandkids to experience and know of me or of our family, which is so important. Like I said, about like the art of living and being a successful, quote unquote successful, kind of healthy, thriving person, flourishing, shalom kind of life. What do we do? Let's say I make that decision. I want to do that. Today, Wednesday in September, I'm ready to like not have the generational sins of my past or the family of origin story that has shaped me. I want to go somewhere different. You've got some kind of tenets or themes around like the four threads of the family enterprise. Can you talk about those? And is that the path forward for wanting to create this kind of family going forward?
Yeah. So the threads of the family are more my constructs. So you may end up with something different. Okay. But I think that these are relevant for everybody. Okay. And so the four of those are faith in God. And why is that? Well, that's a family vision that transcends and enhances many generations, right? So it's not about today. It's not about being in the moment, right? Being in the present. It's about understanding that we are beyond ourselves, right? God transcends everything, and time is infinite, right? But we're just like one little tiny speck of that. So in order to really understand that what you do today has an impact 100 years from now or 200 years from now, or our family's children's children's children who we will never meet, you have to believe in transcendence. You have to believe in God. So that's the first one. The second one is togetherness, which is the topic of today. And really that's a family that makes decisions and works together, right? That's what we strive for. Because when we're together, we go places. When we're separate, this is not much different than we talk about in business. If we can get thinking about the business owner or maybe the business executive, where they're used to kind of really white knuckling it, meaning they hold on to the decisions. And the conversation is, what would you rather have? You and your two trusted advisors in the back room making all the decisions? Or would you rather have 100 people, your employees, making small decisions on continual improvement? Which one is going to take you places? The second one is. And you may not believe it, but it's guaranteed the second one is. Right? So it's the same thing here. Togetherness is a really important part of the family, to make those decisions together, but also for the longevity aspect of it. If we want longevity across generations, we have to understand what togetherness means and how we model it for our family so that our kids understand what it means to be together. And they can take those practices because that becomes their thread going forward, and they teach their kids, their kids, their kids.
This is a point you could Google later if you're listening, is the principle of subsidiarity from Catholic social teaching. If this is a new one that I discovered recently, but that phrase or that term, subsidiarity, is to move that decision-making power down to the lowest unit of the organization or the team or the family or something, which I found actually really helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so that's togetherness.
Okay.
The last two is learning, right? So this is the tagline with that: a family that seeks to be lifelong learners who share and act on what they learn. Right? It's just another ingredient into going somewhere. If we're not really learning and we're just drinking beers in the backyard and grilling burgers and watching football games, that's okay. But what are we learning? Like, how is that affecting our family over the long term? And then the last one is flourishing. And this is one where we can do the first three fairly well. The last one is really hard because what that means is that each individual in our family is thriving and flourishing, which means that if we know or understand one of us is not, then we come together, we have faith in God, we learn, and we decide how do we enhance each other's lives, even for those who are not flourishing. And that's hard too, because a lot of times, especially for the bigger families who have a strong family history, and there's always one or two liars in the current family, right? They don't want to be in the family cookie business. They're not interested in manufacturing, and they're never going to be. But and so are they really enjoying themselves when the family gets together and talks about recipes or the new manufacturing equipment? No. So how do we include them? And then how do we help them thrive and flourish with some of the things that they're interested in? So those are the four threads.
So getting more practical, how have you seen this work out maybe in your own life or in your clients' lives, or maybe some more practical, like, what do I do? You know, let's say like I make this decision next week, next month, next year, January, I'm making a commitment to changing my trajectory. Yeah. What do you recommend? Like, is like maybe the, maybe like a family devotional, it would be a great idea, or like set up like a Sunday dinner, with everybody. Like I know some folks that they do Sunday dinner or they do Friday movie night, and that's just what they do as a family, and create that kind of like a kind of ritual or kind of tradition together. Is it things like that? I mean, how do you break that down? Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So if you're starting from zero, which I would say that for me, and I'm a Gen Xer, and I would say just as a stereotype of our generation, my generation, is the whole individualism is very strong during our time of living, right? So we did whatever we wanted to do. And if there were any family rituals or traditions, we tended to,
Yeah.
And so those things don't really exist, I would say, for my generation as a whole, right? So I would say for me, a lot of those things have to be started from scratch.
Yeah.
So, and let me caveat all that. That doesn't mean that I had a poor family history and tradition and all of that. It just wasn't a cohesive togetherness. That's how I would describe my family. There wasn't a togetherness.
Same. Yeah.
And so if I'm starting from there, then you just start really small. Like you don't need to create this massive thing. Like we do Friday pizza night, right? Yeah. So normally we have maybe a sports game, or maybe just the kids are off school, or they just get off school, and then we'll find a new pizza place, and we go to all different pizza places, not just the same place every time, and we don't order it in. We go out somewhere.
Cool.
So something like that. Now, if you want to get more formal into it, there are just some different questions that you could ask yourself. Like, what is it that you strive for? Like, what is the mission of your family? And this can actually be a lot of fun, depending on who you are. But you can look backwards into your family, and if I look backwards into my family, I had a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. So we had out in Wyoming, they owned grocery stores in Wyoming, and then there were ranchers in my family, sheep ranchers out in Idaho and Utah. We had a Greek restaurant in my family, right? This is not me. This is like in the history, right? Yeah. And my grandpa Spencer was a out of the basement gunsmith and ran a little business there and had all these different things. And so I think if you were to look back with specific things and then kind of open up the aperture, you'd say, oh, look, it's a history of people creating businesses, right? I didn't know any of that when I started my business. I just did it. But would that have changed my trajectory or what I had done if I would have known that? I don't know, but I think it helps. I think it helps to understand I've had this conversation with lots of different families, and some of them will look back and say, geez, we're a family of priests. Not necessarily Catholic priests, but just ministers and evangelists. And not to mean that they started churches, but that's just who they were.
Yeah.
And you kind of look at, and there's like, I can count 5, 6, 7, 8 of them that were in the ministry. You just call them in the ministry. And so that could be a thread too in your family. And you're like, oh, yeah. And that's another, I think, an important ingredient is that our family threads are more aligned than not. And so it does mean something when you can look back. And also part of my family history is military. Like a lot of my family members in the past were in the Air Force. And so does that mean that I went in the Air Force? No. But it does create a thread on what we do on Memorial Day. Yeah. Right? Yeah. As a family. And it does create an interest in history of World War II and the Korean War and Vietnam and right? Those are threads of our family. And so anyway, that's a fun thing to kind of look backwards. And then you get to decide what that means for you. And then that's the vision of your family. So going forward, what is the vision of your family? What's the mission of your family that you strive for, right? And you can put those things down. And then you can see what that looks like. What are the baby steps to that? The atomic habits of togetherness for your family to achieve whatever your family mission is or what your family story is that you want in the future.
Like you, I had parents who grew up in the 60s. They're born in the 60s, and it didn't create that kind of tradition or kind of ritual cohesion, if you will. And so I do have to create that from scratch. And I have this colleague who is big on family longevity and cohesion, and he asks his kids every day they're driving to school, who are you? And they have to recite this thing about who they are as their family member. And it's led me to do that with my kids, where every night I pray over them that they would be healthy, wise, and strong. That's what I want them to know about being in this family. And I wish it were strong enough where I could create some kind of like family crest, but I'm solidly middle class and that will not happen. But monogram towels is about as close as I'll get. But I do think that kind of like clear mission and vision of who you are and what you're about as a family is so key.
Yeah, I think there's something there too as well, which I've experienced on my own, meaning kind of thinking about this and doing some of these things is a lot of times there's not enough strength or muscle memory in me or in my family to really achieve the mission.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
So I think what you just said is a perfect example. Is sometimes we can observe friends and families, and you're like, oh my gosh, so amazing.
Yeah.
Like that is really so fruitful, and so like almost to a jealous, like a little
I was
bit
about
of
to
envy,
say, it's a little
right?
envy is in there. Yes, I feel
envy.
that all the time.
Yeah.
Felt that this morning. Yeah.
I think, but though for us to realize is their family story and history is different,
Yes.
right? And it's grown over and over and over, and their muscle memory is what creates that.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something for us and everybody, right, depending on where you are, is to give yourself a little grace. And then to also understand that even just what you just said, praying over your children for strength, wisdom, and
Healthy. Want to be healthy, wise, and strong.
healthy, wise, and strong
Yeah.
is the first part, right,
Yeah.
of creating that muscle memory. And your family may not reach its vision or mission for 2 or 3 generations. But they wouldn't have been able to do it without you starting something. Again, the atomic habits, the working out. I can't beef up. I can't get the muscles, right?
No gain.
Unless I go to the gym.
Yep.
And if I'm not going to the gym, right? So all those things I think are all part of just understanding where we are and where we fit with all that.
Yep. Yeah, Atomic Habits says just start by putting your shoes on in the morning.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. It's like I can do that. I can put my shoes on, and then it goes from there, which is great. Okay, well, what would you want to leave listeners with? What's something that?
I think I have 2 things. I have 2 things. So another important thing to really get a grasp on is that family business is also a lot of talk about family assets. And so we hold really dear the business that we have because that's our family asset. And I learned this early on with Second Nature is sometimes families will hold on to the business much tighter than they will the family.
Yes.
And so anyway, what came out of that is just my realization is that there's actually 2 family assets. There's the members of your family, which is the human capital, right? And then the time you have with them. Family members and time, those are your family assets. So if you consider that as these are the 2 tangible things that I own within my family, my children, my immediate family, right? Mom and dad, in-laws, and then you go to your extended family, right? And even your neighbors as well. You can include them into your family, right? But those are the things that propel longevity within your family. And you only have a finite amount of time. And really, you only have a finite amount of family members.
Yeah.
And so having an understanding of who the members are in your family, what are their God-given talents, and how do we create a togetherness, knowing what makes up each one of us to go forward and propel the longevity of the family in the time that we have together. So that's the one thing that I think is important for everybody to understand. And then I just want to read something that I think is that's important here too. Is I'm going to read this. We must change our family mindset to be eternal, to embrace eternal hope. Our daily lives are for the children of our families that we will never meet. So everything that we're doing right now that you and I are talking about and putting our words onto tape.
I don't know what that is, Paul. That's before my time.
I know. I love our generational gaps. I was listening to this sidetrack, but I listened to something the other day, and you were correcting me on doom scrolling, and I was saying infinite scrolling. You're like doom scrolling.
Yeah, doom scrolling.
So anyway, I'm going to read it again. Our daily lives are for the children of our families that we will never meet. And the importance of that is that when we are in the moment and the things that we're doing, it doesn't mean we can't have fun. We enjoy ourselves. We have joy in our life. We have happiness. That's what we strive for. We don't always get it. We live a virtuous life, but we know that the things and the decisions that I'm making today to pray over my children, to give them that muscle memory for the longevity of my family, will not be for them. It will be for their children's children. And we will never meet them, not in this world. And then one other thing too. So each family member provides unique talents that propels the family longevity. And ultimately, we make decisions together today that have implications for our family in the next century. So you asked, what does it look like? What's the practical part? I know I tend to think in big philosophy, big things.
Same.
But you get this into your brain and you spend some time devoted to it and you pray and you let God talk to you. He will tell you what it means for you. And even if you're a little dry in that area, you will noodle on it and you'll figure out what are those little pieces for you to create the family charter, the family longevity for your family.
Just put your shoes on.
Just put your shoes on.
That's right. There's this term I heard recently called cathedral thinking. And that was the idea that you get these group of people to build something that they will not see the completion of. And I find that so interesting. I mean, you think about Notre Dame or any major cathedral, took hundreds of years to build. I'm laying stones and building a column or a door that I will never walk into. But I'm laying the stones that will be.
That is beautiful. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. That is, that's that eternal thinking. And I would say, we were talking about the times today and individuals and maybe the family's not as important. That is something that we struggle with today, I would say, in our society. Everything is immediate. We have the technology that it's now. And we really struggle to understand that the storms that we're having, the things that are going on in our world, like, what's it going to be like in 10 years? What are the things that I'm doing today that will make 10 years from now great, or at least better? And a lot of people really struggle just for tomorrow.
One could argue that this podcast is that very thing. We've got 36 episodes now of your brain on tape that your grandchildren could listen to, and learn, like, who was my grandfather? What was he like? What did he think about? What did he care about? And I think it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, actually. Yes. There's so many cool things where I'll go back on the things that I've written. Like this topic this podcast topic, I wrote back in early 21, maybe. Maybe even, probably all really started in 19, but I put it all together in 21. And then I go back and I read it and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's kind of cool. And then even just listening to this is not just about me, but for all of us, there are things that we have in our minds that when we do get them on paper or on tape, that we forget about them. And then we go back and we're like, oh, geez, that guy's brilliant. Like, what happened to that guy?
I am so smart.
But those are a nice compendium of who you are and your thoughts, and those things are fleeting. So a lot of people are very good at journaling. I am not, but they're fleeting. And that's another part of the family thread history is how do you record some of the things that you're up to?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I've known folks that do a family podcast. Literally, they get their grandfather who's 90 to just sit and talk for a little while to get out his stories and put them on tape so that they can listen to them later. Or journaling. Many people that are big into entrepreneurship and success and how do you live a good life. Journaling is like one of the top things, especially gratitude journaling. Just write down your thinking every single day, and it's really powerful.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. It is. That gets you out of the moment, out of the rush
That's right.
The rush. And you have to kind of, we talk about this as well, right? The ability to slow down. And in order to really write those things down, and like you can't just do it in 2 seconds and then head out the door, right? You have to spend 20 minutes and reflect and then put it on paper.
That's right. That's right. Well, Paul, thank you. This, again, is just amazing wisdom that I hope people take away and like really get it down deep, because it will change your life and it will change you for the better, change your kids' lives, your grandkids' lives, your great-grandkids' lives. It's really key. So thank you for sharing.
And if you've been blessed with a family muscle memory, family story, and a family thread that you're proud of, and that you kind of reflect on, and you say, "Geez, I never really appreciated it, but now that I see it, I do really appreciate it." Then it's up to you, right? Keep it going.
That's right.
And to improve it or advance it.
That's right.
As you see fit, right? As God has you in store, right? He's given you gifts to keep that thing going in your own way.
And if you're also blessed with an internet connection, go to secondnature.solutions, sign up for our newsletter, and respond back to Paul, this monthly newsletter that you have, with some ideas, some stories, some things that you're adopting and implementing in your own family. And find Paul on LinkedIn, chat with him, share stories.
Yeah, love to hear from you guys. It's fun to hear what you guys are up to.
Well, Paul, thanks as always, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, see ya. Bye.